This is a loaf of organic homemade sourdough bread. You can see the little label on the back here. I buy this at a little local farmer's market on Wednesdays from a little gal who cooks this up in her kitchen. I actually went to one of those sourdough making bread classes, they're doing right now, where you go to someone's house and you all hang out in the kitchen, you put your little aprons on and you make sourdough bread. It was really fun. There was about, maybe 15 or 20 women there. I mean, it was a very, very popular little event. We made sourdough bread. Here's what I learned from that class. 2 things. First, I will never be making organic homemade sourdough bread. I'm telling you what, it's like a 900-step process. You need patience of a saint to make this kind of bread. If you've got those skill set, girl, you got something special. The second thing I learned is that if you can find a loaf of organic homemade sourdough bread, fresh, for $50 or under, that's a bargain and you should grab it. Welcome in, I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything beauty, fitness, and lifestyle for the over 50 and over 60 woman. Oh, I'm so glad you're here today. We're going to have a talk about something I think is very important. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you leave and make sure you click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And if you want all the good stuff, you might want to sign up for my Sunday morning email newsletter. It comes out on Sunday mornings. It is the most popular thing about my channel. I'm telling you what, if I didn't send out the Sunday morning email newsletter, I would be inundated with people wondering what the heck's going on. This email newsletter is a little bit different. It contains all the cool things I found throughout the week, whether it's a great sale or a good piece of information or a recipe you absolutely have to try. Whatever I would be sharing with you, if we were out together having lunch and just chit-chatting, that's what goes in the Sunday morning email newsletter. It is super free, super easy to sign up. You just click the link in the description box down below. Super fun. I think you're going to love it. Friday season is upon us, and today we're kicking off with an amazing sale on the Nebulyft. If you're not familiar with the Nebulyft, you want to be, because this is such an integral part of my anti-aging skincare routine. This little guy or gal, I don't know, maybe it's neither, is such a remarkable little device. Radio frequency is really powerful for firming and making your skin look much brighter and fresher because it stimulates collagen and elastin production and gives your skin that really, really beautiful glow. The first time I used radio frequency on my skin, I thought, wait a minute, it looks like my skin has been ironed, and it really does have that impact on your skin. Super easy to use, and it feels absolutely delicious. You simply hit the button and apply it to your skin with the conductive gel and just move it around your face. It feels delicious. It really does, because it gets a little bit warm and it's all slippy, and oh my gosh, it's just wonderful. There is a powerful, powerful process that your skin goes through with a radio frequency device like this one. Now, I tried a few others before this one. I fell in love with the Nebulyft. One of the things that I want you to know, if you own one already or if you're thinking about getting one, this is one of the only devices that you really can hit your upper brow bone area, firming your upper eyelids. I cannot believe the difference in my eyes from when I first started to now. I really do not have very hooded eyes anymore, because you can actually run it over that brow bone, really impacting that skin. In addition, it goes all over my face and down my neck, underneath my chin. Warm and yummy and lovely. I absolutely adore this. They do have different models of the Nebulyft I forget the name of this one, but I love this one because it's the dots. You want to look for the dots. There are a number of units and they're all on sale. I think it goes from 30% to 20%. So there's a really, really nice discount for Black Friday. In addition, for you guys, the viewers of Pretty Over 50, Nebulyft is offering an additional $20 off 2 of the units, and they're listed down below in the description box. I would tell you, but I can't remember. I wrote it down just a few minutes ago. You'll see the special in the description box down below. The Nebulyft, a really important part of my anti-aging skincare routine, softens lines, firms the skin, brightens the skin. All good things are going to happen to your face when you use the Nebulyft. It really is a wonderful device and it feels absolutely yummy. So I want to thank Nebulyft for sponsoring this portion of the video. It's a great Black Friday sale. Details are in the description box down below. I think you're gonna love it. I want to talk with you guys today about something that popped up in my life. And I'm hoping that we can have a discussion about it in the comment section below this video, because I think it's something we really need to think about. And I'll tell you how it came up. I was hanging around the house one day, sort of making plans or thinking about what my next steps were or what I wanted to do, what I want to focus on. I always pretty much have at least 1 or 2 projects going, learning something new, doing something new, developing a new skill, something. And I was sort of just planning out my next little, adventures. And I was thinking of different things that had interested me in the past, like, is this the time to fit that in, or is something else more appropriate now? And I came upon this one thing that I've been toying with for a long, long time. And when I was mulling it over, like, okay, is that something I want to do now? A little voice in my head popped in and said, nah, you can do that when you're old. And I'll tell you what, after I wondered, who the hell are you talking in my head? The next thing I thought is, am I not old? Am I not old? Is old not here yet? Now, I am going to be 68 this month. So I think by the time you watch this video, I'll be about a week and a half from 68. If you would have asked me when I was in my 20s or 30s if 68 was old, I would have said, oh yeah. That's old. That's old stuff. That's rocking chair territory right there. But now that I'm here, I don't feel that way at all. And maybe you don't either. So I kind of talked to that voice in my head. It's like, well, isn't that interesting? How is it that we decide we're old, or we decide it's kind of time not to do things anymore, or not to make certain choices, or not to go certain places? How is it that we decide that? And I really started doing a deep dive into myself, analyzing what's old to me, and have I made decisions based on a concept that I'm old, and maybe I'm not old. Maybe it's just a decision that I made. So I started really giving that some thought, because I think it's important, particularly in our culture, in American culture, maybe a little bit more than other cultures. We really value youth, and we really almost dismiss at times, not all the time, but at times, people who are no longer youthful. I realize there's been some pushback over the last few decades, and that's good, but I still think there's this underlying dismissal of people who've been on the planet a little longer than others. And there's one thing that I find particularly interesting, and that is the dismissal of the experience those people have had. In other words, they have had a lot of experiences which give them knowledge about certain situations. So I do think in our culture, we are missing that, taking advantage of knowledge that people who've been on the planet longer have learned. So I was mulling all those things over, and here are the things that I actually kind of landed on. And maybe if you spend some time thinking about it, you might land on it too. So I'm 68 this month, 68. That would have seemed really old to me when I was in my 20s and 30s. It just doesn't seem that old now. And here's the thing, when I'm 78, 68 is going to seem like really, really young, like I was a kid back then. Like I look at my 50s now, I used to think 50s were so old. I had so much fun in my 50s. I'm not kidding you one little bit. I had so much fun. I did so many athletic outdoor things. I went so many places. I met so many people. So there was a fallacy. 50 was old when I was in my 20s and 30s, and yet my 50s were an absolute blast. My 60s are really fun too. So I'm going to be 68. Now, in my mind, and I've always had this, and maybe some of you have as well. If you have, make sure you put it in the comments down below. I have always had in my mind a timeline of my life. It's like I could actually sort of visualize it in my mind, and I would see like different turns and twists and things, not necessarily events, just the trajectory of my life. And I can see my timeline as I move out from here, and I see a number that lights up or pops up in my timeline. And I've seen it for a while now, and it's kind of like, okay, that's the end of the timeline for this life. And it's a long time from now. It's like 30 years from now. And thinking about how I'm managing my health, you know, I eat very healthy, I exercise, I drink great water. I'm doing all the things to feel really good, and I do feel really, really good. I can see how I will live to that age. Now, here's the deal. If I decided today that I was old, I would have 30 years to hang around in my rocking chair being old. And let's look at it from a different point of view. 30 years is like me at 38. It's 30 years later. Now at 68, it's 30 years beyond 38. That is a whoopin' long time. Think about what has happened in your life over the last 30 years. I mean, there are a ton of seasons in there, a ton of choices, a ton of time, all kinds of things. And when you think about all the things that you've done and learned and gone through and grown from and matured into in those 30 years, imagine if you just sidelined the next 30 years. What a loss that would be. And I started really recognizing that I have so much time left on this planet in this lifetime to do all kinds of incredibly cool things. I mean, it's really up to me what I decide to do with that time. I've stayed very mobile. I can go out by myself and I don't feel uncomfortable. I mean, I have a ton of choices. So that really kind of struck me that the length of time from 38 to now is probably could be what I have from now until, you know, I go on to the next adventure. And I thought, well, you know, that is so interesting, and it really did impact how I looked at my choices and the planning that I was doing for my life. And then another thought came up because I started looking around at my girlfriends. You know, I have girlfriends my age, we all do. And I started thinking about each one of them. And what I recognized is that I have some girlfriends who have decided they're old. They just have. And it's not as though they came up to me one day and said, I'm old now. Things are different. It's more that, you know, they just adopted an old life pattern or an old perception of their lifestyle. It shows up in how they dress and how they present themselves and the things that they do with their time and their attitudes and their choices and so much more. So I have a group of friends that consider themselves old. And then I looked again and I have a group of girlfriends my age, some of them a little bit older, who've decided, no way am I old. It doesn't even cross their mind. I mean, I have one girlfriend who's several years older than me who is driving around the country right now with a big camping trailer behind her Ford F-150. She's pulling that trailer and going to campsites and just having a ball. She's in her 70s. It never dawned on her that she's old. I have another girlfriend who is my age, and her uniform is a black leather jacket and bell-bottom jeans. And right now, she's tooling around Europe with her boyfriend. She definitely has not decided that she's old. So I have a mix of girlfriends, and I'm sure that you do too, that some have decided, okay, I'm kind of wrapping things up. I'm kind of, getting out the rocking chair and sitting out the rest of my life. And then I have another group of girlfriends who are like, no way, and just doing all kinds of fun, wild, exciting things. So the point that I want to make with this very long discussion is, have you decided you're old? And if you have or haven't, are you happy with that decision? Because I truly feel like it's a decision. We get to choose, just like I get to choose what my next projects are or my next adventures and what I'm going to focus on next. I get to choose, and I also get to choose if I feel old or if I've decided that I'm old. And I think maybe some of us have decided we're old a little too early. And maybe that decision needs to be changed. I don't know. Well, one thing for me is I very clearly, after this little exercise I did, recognize that I have so much time and I can do so many things. And that one thing that popped up in my head, I'm not going to do that now because I'm going to do that when I'm older. And so it's going back on the shelf, and I'm going to choose things that are a little bit more in line with my more youthful years of 68. Well, that's what I have for you today, a little discussion on whether or not we're old. Are you old? Am I old? Are your girlfriends old? Who's old? I would love for you to share with me what your thoughts are on this in the comments below, because I think this is worthy of a discussion. And I think maybe, just maybe, we make the decision that we're old way, way too early. Thank you so much for joining me today. You guys know it just tickles me when you take a few minutes out of your day to spend it with me. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. Again, I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything beauty, fitness, and lifestyle for the over 50 and over 60 woman. Make it a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.